So hello there, my name's Dane Lemaitre and welcome to the review, and I'm really excited about this review. This is Peter Sam in the 009 Bachmann range, so the Thomas Tank Engine Bachmann range, and I got this last month. However, unfortunately, my layout, the Sky Louis layout that I have, wasn't working very well, but now, with the help of my brother, added some more wires to it and things, and point motors, so it's a bit better now than it was before. And it runs a lot better as well. Like I said, because of that, unfortunately, I wasn't able to run Peter Sam. And when I first started running this today, it was a little bit jumpy. But then, as the motor obviously wore in, it became better and better and better. And I also run in my Yellow Rheneas as well. And Yellow Rheneas I got for my birthday, which was on Monday, the 22nd of August. And that's one that I really like as well, which I'll talk about next time. And also, you'll see behind Rheneas is a Coleman's mustard wagon, which I got when I went to Cromer back in June this year from Model Railway Shop. But anyway, this is Peter Sam, and Peter Sam's always been one of my favourite narrow gauge engines. I probably liked him, to be honest with you, because he's green, although he's not always been green. When he first appeared in the Railway series, we didn't actually see him in his previous green livery. He was in the Sky Louis colours. He never used to have buffers, but later on he gained buffers. Before he came to the Sky Louis Railway, he used to work on the Minnesota Railway, and his name was Stuart. And in the TV series, he always had buffers, whereas, like I said, in the Railway series, he didn't. Like I said, he was painted green originally, and then painted in the Sky Louis colours when he came to the Sky Louis Railway. And also as well, Bachmann have announced that they're going to be releasing the handle in this range as well, which I'll be excited about as well. And one of my favourite stories in Thomas Tank Engine is actually the story Special Funnel, in which Sam gained his special funnel, as you can see here, which is rather flat and a unique shape. Again, in the TV series, like I said, he was involved in an accident with the trucks, and it obviously damaged his funnel and it became loose. And then eventually it came off altogether, and they had to use a drain pipe in its place, which was quite funny. And that was, as I say, the story Special Funnel, which is one of my favourite stories. But like I said, he was given this funnel anyway. And when he was in the TV series, it was more of a square, boxy shape, whereas in the Railway series, it's always been the correct shape. And also, I've got Peter Sam in the Ertl range, and in the Ertl range, he was pretty much like he was in the Railway series. And I gave him his proper funnel then. So really, in my opinion, until this one came along, the Ertl one was the best one. But in some ways, to me, this is now slightly even better. And this is based upon what Peter Sam looked like during the CGI era of the show. But there's no problem with that, in my opinion, because Peter Sam's actually based on a real engine on the Talcon Railway, where I've been quite a few times. He's based upon Edward Thomas, and also there's an engine like him on the Corris Railway, which I've seen as well. And when I saw Peter Sam, he doesn't have the Giesler jet funnel. Edward Thomas, he doesn't have the Giesler jet funnel, but I'll say Peter Sam's kept his. Whereas Edward Thomas, the real locomotive, who the Reverend W. Audrey based Peter Sam on, did actually have that funnel at one point. But like I said before, Peter Sam gained this funnel. He had a very round, sort of traditional funnel, like most of the other engines. And like I said, even though after he gained his special funnel in the TV series, in a lot of the magazine stories, or in all the magazine stories pretty much, he had just his round normal funnel. I don't know why that was, but the magazine illustrations weren't always as realistic as like the Railway series illustrations, and obviously the TV series either. There was a bit of a difference. As well, on the back of Peter Sam, he has a lamp, and during the model series, he gained a lamp on the back from Series 9 onwards. But in the CGI series, he's always had a lamp on the back, and later on he gained a lamp on the front as well. This model doesn't have a lamp on the front, but it's probably because it would be far too fragile. And although I do really like this model of Peter Sam, in my opinion, there's some bits like the whistle and that are fragile. And however, he's got like some pipes and that there that are actually sort of moulded onto his body, so not quite as fiddly. Also, this model is die cast, and again, I've got nothing against die cast because, as you know, I collect a number of them. But the problem with die cast is that it scratches easily, and obviously, if you are going to be using and running this regularly, which, you know, I'm sure if you were to buy this sort of model, you would actually, for that price, be actually running it. You would expect that it would be, you know, probably not as fragile as it is. But I do think it is a really well detailed model. I mean, on the front of the box, it does say ages 14 plus. I think the detail on Peter Sam's whistle as well is absolutely superb as well. Again, looks just like it does in the CGI series. I do really like the packaging as well. Packaging, you know, in my opinion, is a lot better than some of the other Bachmann Thomas products. Protects the model a little bit more. It's also a little bit different to the one that Scar Louis came in originally. Also, they used to have pictures on the back showing you all the range, but obviously now with this one, it's just basically a list telling you all the other ones you can buy in this range. And I've put Peter Sam next to the other narrow gauge engines, and he looks more or less in scale, I think. It's particularly like if you compared him to like Rheneas here, they look a bit like they do in the CGI series. Again, all of them are based upon what they look like in the CGI series. Although I'd say Peter Sam looks a lot taller than Rusty. And in the TV series, from what I remember, Rusty's face was a little bit higher up than Peter Sam's. And he wasn't probably as tall. He was a little bit taller, but not very quite as long. But however, in the Railway series, he was a lot shorter than Peter Sam. So there is a bit of realism. So I think, scale-wise, roughly, they all look sort of in sync with each other, if you know what I mean. Like I say, he does look fantastic alongside the other engines, and in my opinion, he runs really well as well. Going back to the Railway series as well, in some of the later books, around the top of his funnel, Peter Sam had like a bit of a gold rim, but that was never really carried on into the TV series. But I thought in the Railway series it looked very good. And like I said, another story that I quite liked of Peter Sam was the story Peter Sam and the Prickly Problem, and also the story Duck and Dukes as well. They're both Railway series stories, but unfortunately they never made it into the TV series. And obviously, as you know, there's been many other stories that were in annuals and books and that unfortunately never made it into the TV series, probably due to budget, I imagine. But also, I think this is absolutely superb. I like his name on the side and his number. I think it's the right sort of font, like it should be. Great detail all the way around. Like I said, it's more based upon what he looked like during the CGI series, but say, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with that at all, because I think a lot of the narrow gauge engines looks a lot better in the CGI series compared to in the model series of the show. Just the detail was a lot more accurate. And like I said, I've been to the Talcum Railway myself before and seen these engines myself. And when you've actually sort of seen them, it's quite weird, really. You sort of read the books and see the illustrations, be there yourself, and it's like sort of being in the books almost. You know, very realistic to real life. And like I said, obviously most of the Thomas characters are based upon real engines and how they look and everything. When Peter Sam was first appeared in the TV series and in the Railway series, he had silver buffers. but from Series 6 onwards they were painted black. Also, another thing I noticed was in the TV series his buffer beam was quite a lot lower down than the other engines, but come the CGI series it was a lot more level than it should be. It was a bit more raised. Like I said, during the model era of the show things were not fantastic, but although I'd say I prefer the model series, I do agree that some things definitely improved during the CGI series as well. If I was to give this model of Peter Sam a score, I'd happily give him a 10 out of 10, because I think Bachmann have done an absolutely fantastic job. He runs really nicely, he looks really nice all round, and like I said, he's always been one of my favourite characters. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.